Tonight's lesson is going to be how to turn a crew neckline into a V-shaped neckline. I have an example of what I mean when I say crew neck versus V-neck. In the before sketch, you can see I have a crew neckline, which is a little bit more scooped lower in the front than it is in the back. And then when it turns into a V-shaped neckline, it literally is self-explanatory. It looks like a V shape in the front. So it's much lower coming down in the front, and it has a V shape on the front collar, and the back collar remains the same as you see up here. So there's a lesson to be taught about how to manipulate one collar shape into the other, and that's what I'm going to go over tonight. So over here I have a quick little diagram of what I have to set up first in order to do this. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to copy and paste my front view of my crew neck collar, the before sketch. And I'm going to actually draw a line right directly down the center of my CAD. So I'll do that with the pen tool, and I'll do a no fill box in my no fill color in my fill box, and I'll double click on my stroke box, and I'm going to pick a color that's not black and not white, something that I can see, a pop color that I can see, just to temporarily draw this, what I call the center front line. We used this a lot when we were drawing over top of the croquis figure, just to kind of know the direct center of the garment. We will use it temporarily, and then we will take it away at the end of the sketch. So take the pen tool, hold shift, and click 2 points. Holding shift will allow you to get a perfectly straight line, and then release the tool. And then kind of eyeball it and put it directly where you think the direct center of your CAD will be. This is just a rough estimate. You also are welcome to take this this CAD back over the top of the croquis figure to get that center front line, but I don't want you to use the croquis figure on this. I want you to, if you need it to get the center front line, that's fine. If not, if you want to just eyeball it like I did to split the CAD in half, you can do that as well, either way. So what I first want to do is I want an object lock selection on that center front line, which is my red line. Object lock selection. I'm going to lock that line for a moment, not lock the actual CAD, just the center front line. That red line that I drew is the only thing that I want to lock. The next step of what I'm going to have to do to turn this crew neckline into a V-shaped neckline is I'm going to have to ungroup my CAD, object ungroup. I click on it with the black arrow, object ungroup. And maybe I only have to ungroup once in order to separate the body shape from the collar. That's all I need to do. I need to ungroup at least once. You might have to ungroup twice. All I want you to be able to do is ungroup enough so that when I click on the front rib collar with the black arrow, I can click and hit delete. I want to keep my back collar that you see here. I just want to delete off the crew neck collar. The next step is what I'm going to do. I'm just going to look up here for a second. I'm going to draw a shape that looks like this, a half of a shape that goes right here from the center front line all the way up to the shoulder. And it's just a half a shape that looks like that. We're going to fill it with rib, and then we are going to object transform reflect it to have another shape like this. And we're going to bring the two shapes together to make a V shape in the middle. And then we will bring our two separate filled rib pieces over top to overlap. So let's begin. So I'm going to zoom in. I can use the magnifying glass tool, the zoom tool right here if I want to zoom in a little closer, which I would like to right now. And then roughly, again, you are welcome to take this over top of the croquis figure if you want to look, but basically I'm going to do it without it. And what I'm going to do is make sure that I am drawing a just with a black stroke line, not with a fill color. So I'm going to click on my fill box, put a no fill color in it for the moment. I'm going to go back to the pen tool. And I'm going to draw starting right here at the top of the shoulder, but also that top area where the back collar starts. I'm going to click one point there, and this other point that I'm going to click is going to be on the center front line, a little bit lower. Again, I'm going for a V shape. Now, depending on how scooped down you want it to be, some V-shaped necklines are really sexy and revealing, and they go down further to reveal a little bit of cleavage on a woman. Some of them are a little bit higher and more conservative, less revealing, and go up a little higher. So depending on how severe you want your V-neck line to be, is how low you'll come down on your center front line. So I'm going to do a more modest one. I'm going to come down midway. But I want to warn you that before I click down with the pen tool on my second point, I need to remember this is a curved line. So I'm going to click and I'm going to hold and I'm going to bend my mouse and I'm not going to let go until I have a curved line that I like. So it's just a very subtle curve, as you can see, not anything crazy. And I'm going to release the tool. So I can go back and release it by either clicking off the sketch in the white area or clicking to release back with one of the black or white arrows just to release the tool. So then you can see here, that's what I have, a 2-point line. 1 point here starts there, second point here is on the center front line, and I clicked and held so that I have a very subtle curve, and you can see that I have a curve because I now have a curve handle that I can pull on with the white arrow. So if you drew your first curve line and you didn't think it was too curvy or not curvy enough, you can always pull on the blue curve handle using the white arrow, and you can always bend the curve more or bend the curve less by pulling left or right. Then I'm going to take back the pen tool and I'm going to zoom in a little bit closer so you guys can see. Take the pen tool, hover over that last point. Again, my red line should be locked. My center front line should be locked. So I'm going to hover over the last point until the little minus sign appears. You see it there? Here's the minus sign. Once the minus sign appears, click back on that point. That's how you continue to draw with the pen tool. You have to wait and hover over that point with the pen tool until you get the minus sign. That means you're getting ready to continue to draw from the same line segment. Now I can continue to draw. What I'm going to do is actually hold shift and go just a straight line down the center front line just a little bit. You can see the length that I've done there. And then I'm gonna keep drawing because I can go from a straight line to a curved line. What is hard to do is going from a curved line to a straight line. So we're not going to need to release the tool. I'm going to just continue to draw, but look where my next point is going to be. It's going to end up over here a little bit over the shoulder. But again, it's going to be a curved line, guys. So you click down on that point, but you don't let go of the mouse. You click and bend. And it might start moving your screen a little bit because you're a little bit more zoomed in. Click and bend and hold and bend until the curved line of that V-shaped neckline that you're getting ready to do mimics the same curve. And I'm going to release. What we're going for is this curve right here should be the same curve here. And also with the goal is also to have the same width up here between the two curve lines and the same width down here. And right now I can see that I don't have that. It's a little bit more narrow down here. So what I can do is I can take the white arrow, I can click on that little point down here in the bottom and I can drag it down to make sure that the width here and the width up here are roughly about the same. I can also take the point up at the shoulder if I need to make that a little bit narrow. But basically we're going for what looks like a long skinny tube that's about the same width all the way through. And then to finish off, because we have to make this collar shape a joined piece, talk a lot about joined pieces. It's really important because you need the shapes to be joined so that you can fill them with color and pattern later. And you can see right now, if I pulled this away with the black arrow, I am not joined at the top. This is an open-ended shape. There's no closure to it. There's no line segment connecting it. So I'm going to bring it back and make sure that it's closed. So I'm going to click on the shape I just made, which is the starting of a half of a V neckline shape. I can click on it with the white arrow to reveal the points again before I pick the pen tool. And I hover over that one point until the minus sign appears. Once the minus sign appears, click on it. That point should turn blue. And then now I'm going to hover, and let me zoom in a little bit closer so you guys can see. I'm going to hover over that next point that I want to connect to, and when I get ready to connect one point to the other, when I get ready to join them, a little circle is going to appear in the right-hand corner. When that circle appears, click down, and that means that you're joining you're joining your shape from one point to the other using the pen tool. That's just another way of joining. I've shown it to you before, where you can join using the pen tool. As long as you wait for the minus sign to appear and the circle to appear next to it, you should have two line segments and 2 points connecting. So this is the shape that I'm looking for. I'm looking for what looks like half of a curve line, but when it's connected, it's going to have another look over here that's going to look like a V shape at the end of the day. So first I need to work with the half of drawing that I did here. I'm going to pull it off the body CAD for a second because I want to fill it with rib. First I'm going to make a copy of it. Command C, Command V to make a copy. Keep one copy off to the side and then bring your one copy that we're going to fill with rib. Take the pen tool, Make sure your window stroke box is open. We're getting ready to do rib, so you need to make sure your window stroke box is always open when you do top stitching or rib details. Take your pen tool, make sure your fill box does not have a fill color in it. You only have a stroke color and it should be black. Take your pen tool now and just click a line, 2-point line segment, and it's a curve. The intention of this line segment is going to go right in the between the middle of that collar shape. This is our V, half of a V-neck collar shape. That line segment you just drew should go right down the center and should be made up of 2 points. And you drew it as a curve line so that it mimics the similar curve that you have here on the top and bottom. Should go right through the center. And don't worry that it's sticking out above and below the collar shape that's sticking outside of it. That's not a problem because we're going to use a clipping mask function in a minute that's going to sandwich all of our rib detail inside that collar shape. So now once I have that, I'm going to click on the line segment that I drew right in the middle using the black arrow. And just that line segment, not the collar shape. Click on that. Go to our window stroke box, window stroke. And here's my window stroke box right here. I'm going to click on the word dash line because that's how we start to make rib or top stitching line. The dash line must be checked. And then I'm also going to mess with my dash and gap numbers. Now for rib, usually we do about a 0.5 PT, which is just abbreviation for point, and if I remember correctly, a 1-point gap. Yep, that looks pretty good so far. And to make this look like you see here, really tall vertical lines on in between the collar shape, you have to change the stroke weight to a number that's way higher. So even if I went above and beyond and I made my rib lines way bigger than the collar shape that I'm getting ready to fill it, I'd rather your rib lines be bigger than your collar shape than actually smaller. So make sure you pick a weighted stroke line that gives you rib lines that go outside of your collar shape like you see here. The next step is going to be making a clipping mask. And this is a very exact procedure that you have to follow. If you skip one step, you're going to have problems. So you have to follow this step-by-step tutorial for making a clipping mask. So you're going to take the black arrow and you're going to click on your collar shape. So just the collar shape, not the rib. And you're going to do an object, arrange, bring to front. Object, arrange, bring to front. Not bring forward, bring to front. They're very different. I don't know why, but bring to front works. Bring to front. You may never notice anything different about what you just did. But that's okay because basically what you just told Illustrator to do is take your collar shape and put it over top of your rib. Like I said, you might not visually notice it, but it is on top. You have to do that as step number 1. The next step to make a clipping mask is to take the black arrow again and now hover over. Make sure you don't grab anything else. Just make sure you got room around so that you just hover over the rib detail and the collar shape itself. Don't grab anything else by accident. Make sure you're only grabbing those 2 things with the black arrow, and you'll see that they're all selected because they're highlighted in blue with the line segment in the middle being the rib and the blue outline being your collar shape. Next step is you're going to go to Object, Clipping Mask, Make. Object, Clipping Mask, Make. And what it's going to do once you do that function is you can see that it sandwiched all that rib lines inside of my collar shape. And here's the copy of my collar shape over here. It sandwiched and fit all those rib lines inside of that shape. And that's why I needed your rib lines to be bigger than your collar shape. So now what I have is a shape filled with rib. So that's the intention here. We are going to do, I'm going to go back up here so you can show you. This is what we're going to do. We're going to take this half a collar shape. We filled it with rib to get the same half of collar shape, but a ribbed filled one. So you have one with a stroke outline, one with a rib fill only. And then you're going to do a copy and paste of those 2 things. Object, transform, reflect them to get your right side of the collar. And now what I'm going to do is take this collar shape and this collar shape, and I'm going to bring them together and create like a V-shaped neckline. And then I'm going to take the separate rib pieces and fill them in. So going back down here. So the next step is take the black arrow, like I mentioned, and we're going to copy and paste those 2 halves that we just did. Then we're going to do an object, transform, reflect. Object, transform, reflect. And we're going to reflect them vertical like we do on all half of our drawings. We reflect them vertical so we get our right side and our left side to be symmetrical. Okay, so keep those, again, off the CAD for a second. The next step you're going to do is you're going to take this shape right here and this shape over here, and you're going to bring the two together. And again, I'm doing this off of the croquis figure, off of the CAD for a second. I'm going to bring the two together using the black arrow. And I want to make sure that I bring the two together so that there is no weird extension happening down here. They should kind of almost sandwich each other, very flush edge when they meet at the center. And you can even do small movements with the arrow key, or you can move small movements with the mouse. Basically, I'm intending on them to be meeting perfectly, almost like the bottom of a heart shape would be connected. We worked on a heart-shaped CAD when I first introduced you to Illustrator, and we did a very pointed bottom that was very level together here at this intersection. So what I don't want is something like this. You don't want something asymmetrical like that where one side's longer than the other and then this side doesn't connect. So we're gonna Command Z to undo. And what I'm intending to is picture the bottom of a heart shape. This connection right here is really important when you meet the two together, two collars together. The next step you're going to do is you're going to take the white arrow now, not black arrow, white arrow. The white arrow selects individual points or individual line segments. You're enabled to dissect your drawing using the white arrow. So what I want to do here is I want to click on the line segment that is in between these 2 points here. And I'm going to take the white arrow, I'm going to click just on the line segment, not the points, but the line segment itself. And I'm going to hit the word delete on my keyboard. And what should happen is what you just see here. It just deleted the line segment, but it kept the point here and it kept the point there. I'm going to do the same thing on this side. White arrow, click the tip of my cursor to the line segment, not the points, and I'm going to hit delete. And what I wanted to do is I needed to break that, that line that was at the side of both of those half of collar shapes, because I want to actually bring these two collar shapes and connect them together as a joined piece. So I needed to break that line so that they're not two halves anymore, they'll become one. So the next step I need to do is take the white arrow, click on the point that belongs at the end of one line segment, and now I can hold shift to click on the other line segment that belongs at the other half of a drawing. So now I have two blue filled points, and make sure you're doing it with the white arrow. All your other points down here should be white filled. So just two blue filled points right there. And now you can do a right click join, or you can do a Command J. And that's going to give us a connection. And you can see that the 2 points are connected. They have a line segment in it. The next step you're going to do is, again, we're going for what looks like the bottom of a heart shape. I'm going to take the white arrow and click on one of those points, because right now you can see the line segment is going very horizontally across. I need it to be a very V pointed shape in the middle. So I'm going to take the white arrow, click on one point, turn it blue, and then just move it slightly down. And the goal is, again, to have a V-shaped look in the middle right here. So you can see what it looked like before was very horizontal. And when I took the white arrow and clicked on that one point, I brought it down. And what I'm targeting for you guys is to have a V-shaped connection right here. It's joined and it also has a V shape. I'm going to do the same thing down here. Again, I'm trying to get this V-shaped look. I'm going to take the white arrow, click on one point, hold shift to select the other point, and do a right click join or Command J. Either one works. And again, I'm going to end up with a very horizontal line connection between my two joined pieces. But I'm going to take a white arrow and I'm going to pull that point down until I get a very V-shaped line at the end. So this is the goal of what your V-shaped neckline should look like. It should be one joined piece. When I click on it with the black arrow, the whole thing moves together. It is no longer two separate pieces like you had before. I am going to now take my rib detail and I'm going to bring it over and fill it on one side. and then take the rib detail, bring it over and fill it on the other side. I need those rib details to be 2 halves of a drawing where the collar shape can become one. The rib detail needs to become half. And the reason why is because of this intersection right here. The last step you're going to need to do is take the pen tool and you're going to just make sure you have a black color in your stroke box. So if you ever need a black or a white color chip, you can go to Window Color, and there's always, here it is, there's always a black and a white chip available for you. So make sure your stroke box is on top and you click on the black chip. Oh, I'm sorry. That's not what I want to do. Deselect first. Don't make sure you're not selected on any collar shape before you do this. Before you take the pen tool, you are going to make sure your stroke box is on top, Window Color, click on it to be a black chip. Before you draw anything, make sure again there's no fill in your fill box because this is a loose piece. We are drawing what's called the seam that connects the two V-shaped necklines. It's going to be connected by the seam. So you're going to take the pen tool and just click and hold Shift right here in the center of that collar. And basically what that does is, in actuality, this collar is actually made up of 2 pieces when you sew it. It is 2 separate pieces and they are connected here at the seam. But when we CAD it as 2 separate pieces, bring together and make it become one V-shaped piece, and then we bring the rib detail on top, and then we just draw this loose piece. This is just a loose piece right here, little straight line segment that indicates the collar seam. Now when you're done, you can take the black arrow and you can hover over top just that whole collar and you can do an object group. And now your whole collar will become one whole piece that you can carry back onto the CAD and put it in its right place. The last thing you're going to have to do is you'll notice in here that you have the back collar on these left and right hand side showing in between the front collar. So what you'll need to do is you'll take the white arrow and you're just going to click on the collar shape. And remember, the collar shape is this long V-shaped collar shape. You'll see it'll select all around the collar shape will be blue if you select it correctly with the white arrow, not the black arrow, the white arrow. And now you need to just go to your fill box, put your fill box on top, go to Window Color if you don't already have it open. I have it open here. This is my white and my black chip. And I'm going to click, make sure the fill box is on top, click on the white chip. And I just realized that I lost something. So this is good because this might happen to you at home. So I'm going to pull it off for a second. Actually, I'm going to object ungroup. Okay. So in case this happens to you at home, this is good for you guys to see. Pull it off for a second, get it off of the body CAD. And what I'm going to do is click on the collar shape with the white arrow. And I'm going to do an object arrange send to back. There we go. So basically what happened is the collar shape started to fill with white, which is what I wanted to do in order to cover up that detail we looked at here and here when the 2 collars overlapped. But it looked like it overlapped, it filled with white and filled over top of the rib detail as well, but only on one side. So if that happens to you, or even if all your rib disappears once you fill it with white, just take the white arrow, click on the collar shape. Oh, I'm sorry. Make sure you're clicking on the collar shape. So this is really important for you to see as well. When you're home, you want to take the white arrow and click on the collar shape. Now look, you can see I have not clicked on the collar shape. I've actually clicked on only 1/2 of the rib collar shape because you can see only half of it is highlighted in blue. So really important, so click off of it again until you click on the line segment where you're looking for the whole entire line segment, all the way here, all the way back up, over and down, is highlighted in blue. If you have that, that means you're clicking on your V-shaped collar shape. That's the join piece we just did a minute ago. That's what you want to fill with white. And once you fill that with white, if you start to notice that details are missing, like the rib all of a sudden disappears, just take that collar shape and just do an object arrange send to back. And basically all that does is just sends the white filled collar shape to the back so that the rib can pop up front again. Okay, just let's make sure that we take the black arrow again and just do an object group just in case. Mine was already grouped, but in case yours got ungrouped for a second, just make sure that it's grouped at the end. Now I can bring it back, and basically that, by filling that collar shape with white, you can now see that that little piece right in here and here, that where we, a minute ago, we saw the back collar coming through the front and you could see through it, is no longer there because I have the white filled collar shape to cover it up. All right, last operation is you're gonna do an object unlock all, and that's only gonna unlock that red center front line that you created in the beginning to make sure that your V-shaped neckline was gonna be centered. You're gonna just hit the word delete, you don't need it anymore, and then after you are done, take the black arrow, hover over your whole drawing, and do an object group. Anytime you're done your drawing, you're always gonna group it at the end. And the good thing about the back collar, the back view of this V-neck t-shirt, click some of this away, is that actually the back view of the crew neck t-shirt is the same exact back view as it will be on the V-neck shirt. So basically the collar is just lower in the front, it's the same back collar, so your back view will still be able to copy and paste from here and bring it over to here. You're really only manipulating the front view.